podcast you're about to listen to will be discussing and spoiling movies throughout the duration of the show. It is also riddled with bad language, so if that's not your thing, well, we tried to warn you.
Godzilla, king of the monsters, alive, surging up from the depths of the sea on a tidal wave of terror to wreak vengeance on mankind.
Godzilla, king of the monsters, it's alive!
A gigantic beast,
Stalking the earth, crushing all before it,
in a cyclonic cavalcade of electrifying horror.
raging through the streets on a rampage of total destruction.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Monster Madness, a podcast dedicated to all sorts of creature features. My name is Erika Gwynn, and I am but one of your incredible hosts. Join with me on this episode, and all episodes, are two men that need really no introduction. With me, I have Matt Stein.
That's the nicest thing you've ever called me, was a man.
Don't get used to it. And Dan Gwynn.
How's it going, guys?
So before we get into this episode, some plugs. You can find Monster Madness on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as all other obscure social media platforms. There are a few ways you can support our show. For the cost of nothing except a few minutes of your time, you can head on over to Apple Podcasts and give the show a rating and review. That actually really helps other people find the show, and it just kind of gets the word out. So we'd really appreciate it if you could do that. You can also buy merch at teepublic.com, become a Patreon, or join our community on Himalaya Plus. So, without further ado, tonight on Monster Madness, we will be discussing a classic film, 1954's Godzilla. So with that, let the madness begin. This movie was directed by Ishiro Honda, and it was also written by him, and Takeo Murata, and Shigeru Kamiya. If I mispronounce any of those, I truly apologize. Do my best here. So Matt has the taglines and the budgets for this film, so hit us with it.
So I was actually kind of shocked at this. The budget was an estimated $175,000.
Yay.
And that's the thing, this is obviously not adjusted for 2019, but it did gross $562,000.
Not bad.
That's pretty
No,
good.
it's not bad at all.
That's what we like to consider a hit.
Yeah, probably. What did it make? 5 times its budget? No, not quite. 4, 3. Made a shitload of money. Taglines for this movie. I was rereading them a little earlier and realized that some of these would make excellent death metal vocals. The first one is The Legend Begins. The original uncut Japanese version, never before released in the U.S. ! That was for a 2004 re-release in the U.S. Awesome! And then some. It's Alive.
Kind of stealing some stuff.
Yeah, right. That was my thought. Here's where they get really good. Spewing Flames That Scorch the Earth. Incredible, Unstoppable Titan of Terror.
That's the name of my autobiography.
It's too easy. Mightiest Monster, Mightiest Melodrama of Them All. Civilization crumbles as its death ray blasts a city of 6 million from the face of the earth. That was a pretty good one. And then the last one is A Monster of Mass Destruction. Also the tagline for my penis.
Oh, boy.
God. We made it, 90 seconds without you mentioning your dick? New world record.
Come on! Not even a little giggle?
Sorry.
Not even a giggle?
Sorry, gotta talk about my dick.
Sorry.
Not a monster.
I'm not gonna belittle you on the internet that way. I'll belittle you other ways.
It's like all this time, and this is a change of pace. Just talk about the fucking movie, okay?
All right, you need to calm down.
I will.
Calm down.
Godzilla?
Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Now this movie's fucking beloved, people. So you need to take it seriously. Beloved.
I've never seen it before.
Well, there's a lot of them. There's 40 of them?
I'm not gonna answer that because that might be a question.
Oh, gosh.
God dang
I
it.
have to guess how many movies there are.
No, you kind of preemptively guessed the bonus question because, I'm prepared this season. I actually have a bonus round question in the event of a tie.
Oh, nice.
Sure you
So,
do.
I do. I'm, proactive. I'm trying to do better. New year, new me.
2020.
I see so clearly now.
Boy.
wah, wah, wah. I need to get that sound effect and just insert it here.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So this film starts off with you see a bunch of men on a ship. Now they're just playing guitar, they're playing games, it's nighttime, it's their leisure time. You're not really sure what kind of ship it is. It might be a warship, but it's just, they're just chilling. And then all of a sudden, this bright white light comes out of the ocean. And next thing you know, the ship is sunk.
It's whales.
Could be. So everyone's starting to panic, trying to figure out what's happening to the ship or what happened to it because, the Coast Guard is searching for it. They did get an SOS at the time that the ship was attacked because it started to burst into flames and all that jazz, and they were able to send out an SOS and their coordinates, but that was the last thing that was heard from them. So everybody's freaking out. A bunch of other ships go out there, and the same thing happens in this same exact spot. Big bright light.
Ship goes down.
Yeah, ship goes down, bursts into flames. There's no survivors until there is eventually survivors found. So everybody, it keeps escalating, the panic. Loved ones are hounding the Coast Guard and those who are gathering all the information about what's happening. They're just trying to find their loved ones, what ships are going down, what are they doing to search for them and all this jazz. They're just trying to get answers as to why all these ships are just disappearing. It's kind of it's like a Bermuda Triangle of sorts. They really don't get what the hell's going on. So eventually at this point, 3 or 4 boats are taken out at the same spot, and they're speculating whether or not it's an underwater volcano that's, erupting and capsizing the ships, or if it's mines causing the wrecks. They don't know. But the people who are living on the coast, the nearest coast of where this is all happening, are watching the water intently. That's all they're doing is watching the water and trying to figure out what's going on, even though down the line you find out that they kind of have a better understanding of what might be going on versus people who aren't from these coastal towns. But so while they're watching the water very diligently, they see a raft floating inland, and on the raft is this guy named Magia. I think that's how they pronounced it in the film, so that's what I'm kind of going with. And he's in really bad shape. He's all bruised up, and his clothes are all tattered, and he's exhausted, and he's probably dying. I don't actually think you see him in any other scenes in the movies. I think this was just him. And basically before he passes out, again, he just says that his boat is gone too. So eventually the people in this village are trying to fish, and with a coastal town, it's near Tokyo, you have to assume that they're mainly fishermen. This is their livelihood, and this is how they actually physically survive. This is where they get their food, but they're not catching any fish in their nets at all. They're literally just catching rocks. Which, can you catch that, a lot of rocks in, fishing nets?
I've never caught rocks. I don't think so.
I feel like it would be fairly difficult.
Okay. It just seemed like there was a lot of rocks in the
Unless
nets.
it's within the tide.
I don't know. I was just
No.
curious. They weren't getting much. They were getting nothing, actually.
No,
In fact, they were
I think
getting...
he even said, we're not even getting a small fry.
Yeah, they're not getting any fish
Which
whatsoever.
is a very tiny fish.
Thank you for that. That's the fish moment with Daniel.
Dun, dun, dun,
Then there's this, naturally, there's this older, wiser gentleman who just shouts out, he's like, yeah, guys, it's Godzilla. And everybody's just kind of looking at him. They're like, no, Pops, it's not Godzilla. That doesn't happen anymore. You're so silly. So apparently Godzilla is something that everybody in this coastal town knows about. So eventually there's some sort of ceremony that night. It's kind of like a, I don't know what you would call it.
A ritual.
Yeah, a ritual is kind of a stretch, but it's just kind of like a
They're
performance.
dancing.
Yeah, it's a
they're doing
performance.
They're around a fire. They're doing a ceremony.
A ceremony. That's probably a better word for it.
With sound and then music and all sorts of stuff going on.
A ceremony in silence.
Well, there is ceremonies in silence. They're out there.
True. I think Matt's observing his ceremony in
and then they
silence
got-
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then don't they have to eventually offer a woman or something?
Oh, I'm getting there. there. So during the ceremony, the older gentleman is talking to a kind of like a reporter who's trying to figure out what's going on and getting the scoop. Godzilla seems to be this creature that lived there years ago but has since disappeared, and legend has it that once Godzilla eats all the fish in the sea, he will come ashore and eat the people. Basically, way back when they started noticing that the fish was getting scarce and all that jazz, that they would send out a girl typical, on a fucking raft and push her out to sea. And yeah, Godzilla would eat her. And that was like their sacrifice. And his belly would be full and he wouldn't come ashore to eat anyone else. It's like the precious, precious men.
If Godzilla can eat all the fish in the sea, one preteen is not going to keep him full.
That girl could be thick. You don't know.
Even a thick lady would not feed Godzilla.
THICC. Yuck.
A 164-foot tall monster.
Yeah, I mean, the logic isn't there, but then again, whatever.
No.
It's just...
Hey,
No, I mean...
it worked in the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it worked in the past.
Maybe she's doing other stuff.
What if this was just an elaborate scheme by, like, the elders to just get rid of some bitches?
Sounds about right.
Oh, yeah, we sent her off into the ocean.
My wife is nagging the shit out of me. Can we sacrifice her to Godzilla, quote unquote?
Just like...
It sounds about fucking right.
You're up.
It's a great honor. So eventually, after this whole ceremony and this whole, rundown of who Godzilla is and all that jazz, night falls and this horrible storm comes in.
The wind.
And welcome to our ASMR channel. So you have like sideways rain and rough waters.
More
and
wind.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Great. Oh Jesus! Look at his face.
What?
He looks,
I really
he looks
like
so
his self.
happy.
There are worse things I could be doing right now.
It's very true. So after the sideways rain and like you see the rough waters, you hear like this boom, boom, boom. The ground begins to quake and suddenly the roof of one of the homes is blown/ripped off and the villagers are screaming in terror and they can't really see at the same time what's going on. The one boy can, and he sees that something has like destroyed his house, that it wasn't just the storm, that something did it. It was like an animal. So soon after that, a group of men gathered to discuss what happened. Turns out that multiple houses were destroyed and many people and livestock were killed during this whole storm, quote unquote. People who witnessed the attack during the storm are trying to describe what they saw. They claim that whatever caused the death and destruction was actually alive. It wasn't just, a strong wind. They knew what they were saying sounded crazy, but they're like, you gotta trust me. It was a crazy giant thing. So then this weird paleontologist who seems very disheveled and unorganized testifies that large footprints were found near the Himalayas and that the oceans are deep enough that and have secret cavities that could have been sealed and something could have came from them. We just don't know because they're undiscovered. These investigators eventually go to the village to find these giant footprints, and as they're scanning them and stuff like that, they find that they're radioactive, and they also find these sea creatures that were supposed to be extinct for like 2 million years. And then this is where you actually get to see Godzilla in the daytime in the flesh for the first time, which I was actually really excited about because, like, if you guys remember last week in King Kong, it was 45 minutes before we saw him, like even any hint of him. This was only 20 minutes into the film and you're getting like a full look at what the whole monster.
Partial.
Yeah, I mean, it's just his head, but still, like, after that, then you just see him a bunch of times throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, King Kong, that really wasn't the case. There was so much more, like, going on before that, before they could even reach, like, the actual creature. So, I liked the fact that it was half the time. Because this movie was 90 minutes long, which I was actually surprised about. I thought it was a lot shorter. And, you see Godzilla a lot in it. So I thought that was pretty cool. But then you hear these large footsteps again, and this is the first shot of Godzilla. He's kind of peering over a mountain, and he does his infamous scream. But then he kind of was just like, I'm going to scream at you, and then I'm just going to go back in the water. It was very anticlimactic. So.
Did he do the scream?
No, because I'm not. It was very complicated how they got that. This isn't a trivia question because it was just too complicated for me to even word into a trivia question. It wasn't like an animal that they took and like how King Kong, they took, a lion and a tiger, reversed it and then slowed it down. This was literally like the sound of something like thronging against something else and then slowing it down. It had something to do with resin and all this other shit. It was like really,
It's like, bong.
yeah, it was like a really in-depth thing to get this sound, which I thought was pretty interesting. But so after they see him go back in the water and they realize that they're dealing with something way bigger than they probably could ever imagine, They have this whole presentation about dinosaurs, and what they basically deduced from their discoveries is that Godzilla is a product of the radiation that came from the H-bomb in Hiroshima and maybe Nagasaki. One of those, horrible disasters. The radiation from that got in the water and created Godzilla in some way, shape, or form. The next thing we see is like a bunch of news reports, and at this point, 20 ships have sunk at that spot, which after you lose 5, would you be like,
maybe we stop?
Yeah, maybe we just don't go into this part of the ocean.
Send another.
Maybe we should.
Well, what I don't understand is they sent 2 ships and a helicopter earlier. How did the helicopter not see what was happening? Just be like, don't fucking send any more, please. Like 3 is more than enough, or however many they've lost.
The helicopter got destroyed in the storm.
It looks like at that time he's just attacking with maybe the fire or the lightning type stuff he's got going on underwater.
Yeah, you're totally fine, because I missed the helicopter. It was
in the storm.
Yeah, I only saw a glimpse of it towards the end of the storm. They only show it like in the corner of the screen. So if you weren't paying like in-depth attention at a scene that really didn't mean anything, you wouldn't have noticed it. So you're forgiven.
Thanks.
Welcome.
I was gonna say something shitty, and then I just didn't. Here we are.
That you couldn't see that helicopter.
That was a crucial part of the movie. Crucial.
Well, I even read something about how people were pissed because the helicopter was one type in the sky, and then the broken, the destroyed one was something completely different.
It was probably like a model or something.
Yeah, it was a toy.
Yeah. It was a toy, but they didn't use the same toy as to the one that they were flying.
Can't win them all.
No, you can't. But point being is, I even remember reading it. I didn't fucking remember it.
I'm proud of you. Look at you.
Reading.
Stay in school, kids.
It's a good tip.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, 20 ships have sunk, and their only idea now is to just randomly bomb spots in the ocean, which that was like their only plan of attack at the time. They're like, we're just going to throw these bombs at the surface and hopefully we'll hit it, which I thought was a really poor plan of attack.
Just going to piss it off.
Yeah, but it was just like, it wasn't even like they were going deep into the water. They literally were just throwing like explosives on top of the water to
surface.
Yeah, it was just, whatever. And then the next scene, which I thought was really idiotic on these people's part. Again, I know it's a movie, it's not real, but still. There's like a party boat, and they know that all this shit is going on in the water. 20 ships have gone missing and or have been destroyed. They know that Godzilla is a real thing, because people literally have seen his face. But they're like, you know what? It's Friday night or whatever night. We're going to go on this party boat and we're going to dance and we're going to have a great time. We're going to listen to music. And guess the fuck what? Godzilla shows up and he's like, oh, wow.
Let's party.
It's a snack floating right into my mouth.
Or maybe he just wanted to party and he messed up when he was dancing.
I literally wrote, the next scene is a party boat, and that's like putting appetizers on a plate for Godzilla. The idiots. If you guys were ever interested in what my notes look like. There it is. So I don't even know if he even attacks that boat, because they don't show anything. They just show a bunch of people panicking, because then the next scene is them trying to figure out how to stop him.
It just went down.
Yeah, there's just
nobody told us.
Yeah, I mean, all those people could have been dead, but whatever. So eventually, this guy whose name I cannot recall, and it was very long, so I call him Eye Patch Guy.
That's what I was gonna call him.
It's easier.
I couldn't remember his name either.
Yeah, I really wish they kind of told you. Spoiler alert: they don't tell you why he only has one eye, but he just wears this eye patch all the time. And I really liked it when he wore sunglasses with his eye patch. I thought that was really enjoyable. Anyway, so yeah, there's a scientist with one eye patch, and he basically knows how to destroy him, but he keeps this little secret to himself. But before we get into the eye patch guy and his inventions, because he's a scientist, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Okay, now that we're back, once the eye patch guy shows the only woman lead in this film, her name is Amiko, they have like this kind of like weird relationship. And what I found out later is that there was like a big deleted scene. There is this guy who's been in the film since the very beginning named Ogata, and Ogata and Amiko are together even though they haven't told like a couple people, like especially Eye Patch Guy, that they're together, because I think Eye Patch Guy has a crush on Emiko. So Emiko's kind of using her flirtatious side to kind of get into Eye Patch's science lab and kind of figure out what he knows and all this other stuff. So he shows her some weird thing that happens with a fish. At first, we have no clue what he shows her. All we see is a fish tank, and then something happens. You just see their faces and her scream in terror and run into his arms. And he seems to be perpetually concerned all the time, but he enjoyed the fact that she was like running to him for comfort in that brief moment in time. But he has no idea that her and Ogado are together at this point, which is a semi-important plot point down the line, but not important right at this moment. So she goes back to Ogata's house after she sees whatever he's got brewing with the fish, and he knows that she knows something, but Eye Patch Guy swore her to secrecy about what she saw.
Why would she keep the promise that long if she didn't really like him?
I think that there was a closer bond than they kind of alluded to, because there is a deleted scene or like something that was on the cutting room floor where it kind of explains that
maybe she did like him.
I don't know. I can't remember if it was Ogata and Eye Patch Guy or all three of them. They all knew each other since childhood, and it's kind of one of those love triangle-y things that everybody realizes that Eye Patch Guy is in love with Emiko, but Emiko and Ogata are the only ones that don't fucking realize it until it's too late type deal. One of those things. So she goes back to her boyfriend's house, and he knows something up, but he doesn't press her, and she's not telling because she's a loyal asshole. So then Godzilla shows up naturally, because Godzilla always shows up. And he's in the water, and they're just shooting at him, but it's not really doing anything. It's not stopping him or really slowing him down in any way, shape, or form. So then he comes onto land, and the paleontologist tries to tell the army people not to put spotlights on him because it's just going to like super agitate him. But I mean, that barely matters because he's just like wreaking havoc on the town. He's walking through power lines, stepping on trains. People are losing their shit, and he's just destroying everything in his path.
He wants Godzilla to live. He thinks it's like a beautiful creature.
Yeah, the one older gentleman is just like, I can't believe you guys want to kill Godzilla. I'm like, well, he's destroying everything. What are we supposed to do? Like, we're gonna die. But, whatever. But basically, he just has like a brief, walk through town, destroys a bunch of shit, and then he's just like, all right, I'm out. And he leaves again, which is kind of like the premise of the entire movie. Like, Godzilla shows up, destroys some shit, then he leaves.
He's like a very vacant father.
True. That was deep. Because I'm pretty sure there's a movie called Son of Godzilla.
Probably.
I mean, there has to be. There's a bunch more.
It's just him trying to be in town the same day as his dad.
Oh, not here. Gotta go back.
Dad?
Where's the milk?
Where's the milk? So they're prepping for like a major attack at this point because like he keeps kind of coming in, coming out. Though you don't really see him. You see him eat people maybe one time, but you don't even really see it. It's just assumed that he's eating people. But he's supposed to be coming on land to chomp, but we never see the chomp.
I think that's because it's two different. Every scene with Godzilla is a total different, setup by the way that they're shooting the video with two different camera setups.
It would probably
they can't really put the
I
guy
get
in the
it.
suit next to a real person because it's size comparison.
I get it.
Okay.
So when he comes on land again, they get him to walk through these like power lines and they electrocute the shit out of him. Then they light him the fuck up with bullets and missiles. Like they're just like just crazy. But he at the time that I was watching this, it kind of just looked like he was breathing hot air, but apparently it's like a radioactive beam that he's breathing, which I was like,
Yeah, it's like that lightning breath thing he's got going on.
No, it literally says radioactive breath. I don't know what that means, but it says radioactive beam breath. So I was like, all right, work. And that literally melts metal. It sets shit on fire.
Gamma rays at people.
Radioactive beams, Daniel. Radioactive beams.
Aren't those the same thing?
I don't know, but I like just saying radioactive beams. So the whole town's a fuck the blaze. It's just ridiculous. Like he's just kind of just breathing on everything. And this whole battle scene goes on and on and on. It actually kind of drug out a lot longer than I was just like, all right, I get it. He's fucking shit up.
It's Godzilla.
Yeah, we get it. He's Godzilla. So he's walking all over it. He's whacking shit and he eventually makes his way to like this TV tower where like these people are reporting like live what's happening, and they're like saying their farewells. They're like, he's coming to eat me, bye, farewell to all and good luck. And then he's chomp. That's when the only time that it's like alluded that he ate someone, which I was like, all right, about time. So now all of central Tokyo, which apparently is where this whole entire movie takes place, is destroyed. And Godzilla's like flipping bridges and shit, and people are cursing him and shaking their fists at him and stuff. But then an strike comes in, and my boy is just trying to go back underwater. And they're just like shooting missiles at him, and they have terrible fucking aim. The worst aim. They
didn't even hit him.
I think they hit him, like, I think a missile bounced off
Looks
him
like
once.
somebody shooting like bottle rockets at him.
100%. So Godzilla just like kind of swipes at these missiles and knocks them down. And he's just like, I'm done. And he goes back underwater, and they believe that they scared him away. I was like, what? That's like a gnat just like flying at me in a room. I would just be annoyed, and I would just go another room, which is exactly what Godzilla's doing. So whatever. Next, we see the aftermath of the attack, and it's basically like a complete ground zero. Many people are dead, and the whole place is completely decimated. We see Emiko and Ogata, and she finally reveals what she saw with Eye Patch Guy. And basically, Eye Patch Guy came up with this device called the Oxygen Destroyer. And
it looks like a golden snitch that he threw in the little fish
it's
tank.
just like a giant silver ball that sucks all the oxygen out of the water. And basically what she saw was these fish imploding and then eventually just like turning to
Oh,
dust.
I thought they were like melting. Like it was eating the flesh off of them.
I mean, interpret it however you want, but the fish went bye-bye. And it was just so horrific for her to see. It wasn't that bad. So Eye Patch Guy is just like...
Maybe it was her pet fish.
That'd be fucked up if he's like, I love you so much, I'm going to kill your fucking aquarium.
She's like, no, Nemo, no.
Blubber! So she tells her boyfriend about this whole thing because she finally, it dawns on her that she's like, this could kill Godzilla. And her and Emiko and Ogata go to Eye Patch Guy's house. And here's the thing I noticed while I was watching this movie, and if you guys noticed it too. Every time a male lead walked into a room, did you notice that he always had a rag in his hand and he's wiping his neck sweat?
Yeah, this might be like something that they do.
Every single time.
If you notice too, a family member, mostly a woman, comes up and grabs like his jacket, his coat, his briefcase, and they kind of like bow.
So you're saying neck sweat was real big in Japan in the 50s?
I don't know, but like I noticed it an obnoxious amount. I think it was like their sign, like their acting sign of like distress.
Well, they also take their shoes off right away too.
I'm not worried about the whole fucking shoe thing.
It's like a cultural thing, it looked like.
I'm not talking about that. I'm literally talking like literally every time. It was like the actors were told like every time you walk into a room, you gotta wipe your neck sweat off or pretend to wipe your neck. You're distressed. You're concerned. This is what men do. I don't know. I noticed it a bunch of times.
What if it really was just fucking hot and they didn't give a shit that they were like sopping the sweat off themselves?
I doubt that these, studios or, wherever these were filmed had
AC.
Yeah, like
right.
I doubt the cool air was blasted. I'm sure they had like a fan, like a rickety little fan in the corner that was like, like, you know what I mean? So they go to Eye Patch's house to get the Oxygen Destroyer. But naturally he is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Emiko, what are you talking about? Like, come on, bitch. He's like giving her one eye, like sternly looking at her. But then she gets all weepy that she broke her promise to him. And he refuses to let them have it because basically he doesn't want to go down in history as the guy who created another A-bomb or another H-bomb. He doesn't want it to be a weapon of mass destruction. He wants it to be used for good. And they're like, well,
how do you use that for
yeah, I'm like,
other than killing Godzilla?
Yeah, what does sucking the oxygen out of anything do except destroy?
Like, you know what I'm going to think about making today?
He literally named it Oxygen Destroyer. There is nothing positive in that word.
Yeah, like I just don't get it. Like this is going to save the world.
If he thought of like how to make it the opposite, like Oxygen Giver, he could help a lot of biddies.
Yeah.
He'd be
Those are
curing
called-
ozones, clearing
trees.
smog.
They're called trees.
I understand what they are.
Just plant them.
I'm cutting you out of this like entire episode.
Why?
Just joking. So he gets all distraught about the fact that they want his oxygen destroyer, and they actually get into kind of like a fist fight about it because he goes run into his lab, and Emiko and Ogata basically break down the door, and there's a scuffle, and Ogata gets his head busted open, and he's got like blood dripping down his face, and Emiko like quickly comes up and wipes the blood off of his face and wraps like his head in a bandage. And as Eye Patch sees this, he realizes that they're closer than he thought they were. He sees that they're
Couple.
Yeah, that they're romantically linked. They're not just friends like he had perceived because of the way that she was talking to him, I guess. So there's your little like of like a love story.
So now he's like, I gotta one up this guy. Here's the cure.
Not really. They hear this singing on TV, and this youth choir is singing a song of prayer for all the that was lost in the multiple Godzilla attacks, and it kind of gives him this, I guess, like the Grinch, his heart grew 3 sizes too big. And he's like, all right, I'm going to give you the oxygen destroyer, but this is the one and only time. I'm burning all my research. I'm the only one who's going to have it. And this is it. Nobody else is ever going to do this again. Because he's like, I have the formula and how to make it in my brain. So if I destroy all the evidence, nobody else can replicate it for harm down the line. Next we see is Eye Patch Guy arguing with Ogata about going and diving down into the ocean and planting it. So basically, Eye Patch Guy's never, snorkeled or, deep sea dived or anything of that nature. He's just been too busy building oxygen destroyers. And Ogata's like, I'm certified, or I'm going down with you. So they both get lowered down deep into the ocean. And Godzilla, he's just being cute. He's resting on some coral, resting on some like little rough edges down there. He's just napping. The way he's napping was like so precious. I was like, he's like a little puppy sleeping. My dog looks like that sometimes when he's napping. He just mind his own business.
And he just destroys stuff when he wakes up.
Accurate. So he kind of like senses, because magically these two humans get to the bottom of the ocean real quick, and they're walking and trying to find the perfect place to, I guess, release the oxygen destroyer. I think the one guy, I think Ogata had a radiation detector, and he was trying to find like the closest spot to where Godzilla was.
I thought that was just a flashlight.
Could have been that too. Couldn't really tell. So eventually Ogata makes his way back up. I think
Godzilla starts walking towards them.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And he kind of taps him like, okay, you ready? He's like, I'm going up.
No, I missed that. So, okay, so I guess he willingly goes up, and then Eye Patch Guy sets it down, releases the oxygen destroyer, and then takes out a knife and cuts his tether. They keep trying to reach him through like the microphone or like whatever they have to communicate with. And he basically says to Ogata, like, I hope you and Emiko have a very happy life together. Farewell. And then the oxygen destroyer just does what it's set out to do, destroying all the oxygen, everything in Tokyo Bay, because he said that this ball could literally destroy all the aquatic life in that bay. So Godzilla starts freaking out. There's a lot of bubbles.
It's eating up the oxygen.
Yeah,
it's burning it.
Yeah, I mean, it's destroying the oxygen.
Destroyer.
So, but what I found funny, and I don't know, I'm going to get hate for this or whatever, but Godzilla makes his way to the surface and screams, effectively taking a big gulp of fresh air. So, I mean, he breathes some oxygen, but then he goes back down into the water, and he slowly falls to the ocean floor, skeletonizes, and then dust, and Godzilla is no more. Well, and that's the end of the movie.
It's because it's burning up the oxygen that's connected to the H2O. So he's getting like burned the whole time as that's happening around him.
And my knee bone's connected to my thigh bone. Like, wait, I get it.
All right, just checking.
I get it. But I'm just saying, he came up to the surface and was like, ah! And then he went down and died. So yeah, Godzilla, I didn't think he was going to die, actually, to be honest with you.
But the other scientist guy was like, there could be more.
Yeah, and then they kind of go, I even made a note of it. Then the older man who had a soft spot for Godzilla warns against future nuclear testing because it could cause more Godzillas. And that was kind of just like, I think that was more, I don't want to say subliminal message because it was very direct, like, hey, assholes of the world, stop using nuclear weapons because you're fucking up the world.
Well, this was also right after the the war.
Yeah. I mean, Godzilla, there's a definite,
I think that was like stop using hydrogen bombs, America.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't want to get into that, but yeah.
Yeah.
This movie had a lot of deeper meanings than a creature feature, but with that is like the end of the movie. That's a very quick synopsis. This movie was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think Matt wrote the struggle bus getting through it.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you guys know what happens when we finish the movie. Questions of the damn. All right, Dan. You get the first question then.
All right.
You ready?
Let her rip.
True or false? This movie inspired the miniature sets used by George Lucas in Star Wars.
True.
Why don't you give him the trophy?
I didn't say that.
All right, Matthew, true or false? The creators behind this film were inspired by the stop motion used in King Kong, so they adapted the same effect for Godzilla above water.
False.
I was going to trip one of you up on that one. All right, Daniel. How did one of the writers come up with the idea for this film? It's Japanese folklore. While looking at the sea, he became curious as to what lay beneath the surface, or he dreamt it.
He dreamt it.
The water one.
Oh shit, look at his face. God, I literally can feel the couch tense up when you go into the lead.
I'm kind of sorry.
All right, Matthew.
Nope.
What two creatures is Godzilla technically a combination of? A gorilla and a whale, a kimono dragon and a piranha, a bearded dragon and a shark.
Holy shit.
Oh, boom goes the dynamite.
A unicorn and a dragon.
So, I'll say them again.
Please do.
A gorilla and a whale,
Okay.
a kimono dragon and a piranha, a bearded dragon and a shark.
Bearded dragon and a shark.
That's what you're picking?
Yeah. Fuck.
All right, what's my options?
A gorilla and a whale, a kimono dragon, and a piranha.
Gorilla and a whale.
Really? That was
Yep.
the only one that I'm like, that can't be true.
Yep.
That's why I went with it.
Fuck.
That's actually the Japanese, like how they say Godzilla is Gojira, and those two words are a combination of gorilla and whale. It's the gorilla whale monster.
She's been holding that in for like what, an hour?
Since earlier this afternoon. All right, Matthew? No.
Nope, it's Dan.
Is it Matt? No, Dan. It's your turn. Okay, so how much did the original suit for Godzilla weigh? 75 pounds, 115 pounds, 200 pounds.
75 pounds.
What are the other two?
115, 200.
115. Fuck.
That's
It was
heavy.
200.
Yeah.
The original outfit was 200 pounds. The guy could literally only walk 30 feet before he had to literally just be like, no.
Wow.
I'd be like that too.
They eventually made it lighter, but not that much lighter. It's a fucking heavy suit. Okay, so it's 2-2. I have one question for a tiebreaker.
You have one for a tiebreaker or the one and then a tiebreaker?
No, this is the tiebreaker.
Okay.
So, I'm going to ask the question. You both are going to have an answer in your head.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to tell it to me, and I'll tell you which one is either closest, on the dot, or, whatever. So, how many sequels are there to Godzilla?
How are we playing the game? Is it higher or lower, or is it closest to the number?
I would prefer closest to the number.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Be
that.
higher or lower? All right.
Yeah.
You guys let me know when you have a number in your head.
I got the number.
I had a number.
All right, Dan, what's your number?
40.
What's your number?
30.
I'm just going to sit on this for a minute.
I know there's a lot.
Matt guessed the exact number.
Holy shit, really?
Yes, there are 30 sequels.
Wow. Wow, holy shit.
Don't touch me.
Oh boy.
Oh, boy. That's like my favorite thing to do now. Oh, boy.
Oh boy.
So,
I suck.
if you're paying attention at home, especially you, friend of the show, Seth, I know you're Team Dan right now.
Team Dan.
But Dan
It's kinda have a good
started
comeback.
off strong the last season.
He did. So, as LL Cool J once said, don't call it a comeback. Mama said knock you out.
I've been here for years.
I'll have to come back next week.
Yeah, because you're
Stronger.
too
Faster.
zip right now. Okay, because now we're going to go into the next segment of the show, which has a little bit more added to it. So, would we watch this movie again? Us personally. You can do whatever you want, listener. Personally, for me, would I watch this movie again? I wouldn't be mad if it was like on my TV, like playing on the background. But I'm never going to probably like actively seek to watch it. Now, what we're going to add to this question is, are we happy that we watched the film? Because that's kind of important. I said to these guys earlier, Matt watched all the Universal monster movies to his chagrin. Would he watch them again? No, but is he happy that he watched them? He said yes. So I think that's important. I am very happy that I watched this. It's a classic and it's very beloved by people all around the world. So I'm happy I watched it. Am I going to actively be like, you know what, I'm in the mood to binge some Godzilla? Probably not. There's a lot of movies that I don't know if I'm ever going to get through all of them, but I'm happy I watched it. What about you, Dan?
I was happy I watched it. For me, I probably wouldn't actively put it on and watch it, just because for me, since it's mostly subtitles, it's all subtitles I have to read.
Reading's hard.
It's a little bit of more work, so it's something I can't just actively put on the screen. And if I really want to know what's going on, I have to read the subtitles.
Yeah, you have to really pay attention. It's not something you can just throw away and put on.
Yeah, so that's for me. So that's, to me, I wouldn't put it on again unless I really want to sit down and actually watch it.
What about you, Matt?
I mean, it was a pretty slow movie. I expected more Godzilla and more destruction.
He destroyed all of Tokyo.
I know, but the way that I had always expected this movie to go in my head was that there was a, story, he comes out, climax, everything gets destroyed, movie's over. And I didn't really get that. Granted, it's a movie from the 50s. It's the first of 714 Godzilla movies.
No, 30. You just got that answer correct. Don't ruin it. I will revoke your title.
Does that include the ones that America did?
I don't know. I just read it's the fact. And I stole
could
it.
be wrong.
I didn't verify it.
I could be right.
Well, we're not going to go
You
back.
didn't look into this?
I read the fact.
Well, I'm not upset I watched it. I will never watch it again. Yeah.
Okay, now this is an important question. Now that you have seen King Kong and we've seen Godzilla, these versions of them, not ones from, movies that have come out within the last, 20 years, but these versions, who comes out on top? King Kong, Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Well, we're going to get this answer sometime in 2020.
We are when they verse each other.
They already made King Kong versus Godzilla.
Oh, yeah. Whatever comes out in 2020 is basically a remake.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Shocker.
I don't know. I mean, you'd think King Kong's faster.
He's scrappier.
Yeah.
Brute strength.
Like Godzilla's got that outer protective shell. He's got that
Radiation beam?
radiation lightning beam thing going on. You know, he's pretty strong. He can bite you.
So can Godzilla, or so can King Kong.
He's got the feet with the, will cut you up. He's got the tail. He's gonna whip you.
What King Kong has his advantage is that his agility.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not mean. But Godzilla can hide in the water.
This is true. He can just pop out. But
and he's also like a lot bigger.
Yeah, that'll be a little odd how they do that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Because isn't Godzilla like 150 feet and King Kong's like only 30 something?
You know, in all my reading, I actually did not see how, like,
they said
tall.
that in the movie.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
164 feet.
164 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And King Kong was between 19 and 25.
Yeah.
So.
They will be the same size in the new movie, I guarantee it.
That was the version we're watching, but they might, scale it up.
Yeah, but then it gets kind of obnoxious if you have a 150-foot gorilla. But whatever, we'll see. But I think Godzilla comes out on top. I do like the tagline for the new film. It's like something along the lines of, "What does it matter to be a king if you're a god?" I was like, ooh, that's a tagline I can get behind.
Strong.
Isn't it? I thought it was. I liked it.
It's actually really good.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like, wait,
Thinking about it.
Yeah,
she said something I agreed with.
What?
This sucks.
I don't like this feeling.
Yeah, I feel empty inside.
Well, it is a day that ends in Y.
This is how I always feel. Never mind.
I'm okay. All right, well, that's going to bring us to the end of this episode of Monster Madness. If you tune in next week, Matt's going to take us through a gem.
Mm-hmm.
1980s alligator. Never seen it. Never watched it. I'm excited. It's about a giant alligator. I mean, come on now. You get the theme of this season so far. So yeah, if you want to watch ahead of time, good luck trying to find that movie. But
it's out there.
It's out there. I found it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Like I said earlier, you can find us on all social media. Please leave us a rating and review. Reach out to us. You can all reach out to us via email. I did not mention that earlier. monstermadnesspod@gmail.com. If you have episode suggestions or just want to chit chat with us, constructive criticism, please don't do that. Shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you. As long as it's positive. We love positivity. So yeah, with that, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks again.
Bye.